When my daughter boasted that she had hidden my $10 million inheritance from me, I smiled. She thought she had the upper hand, but she had no idea what I had planned. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. Henry MacAllister had always believed in family above all else. He had spent decades building a legacy, not just of wealth, but of trust, loyalty, and love. The sprawling MacAllister estate in the countryside stood as a symbol of that legacy, each room filled with memories, laughter, and a life meticulously crafted. It was New Year's Eve, and Henry was preparing a small, intimate family dinner. The children were supposed to arrive soon, the house buzzing with festive anticipation. He walked through the grand dining hall, checking candles and silverware, humming a quiet tune, completely unaware that tonight would mark the beginning of a betrayal that would shake him to his core. His phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa, his daughter, flashed across the screen. "Dad, don't expect too much from me tonight. I have plans. You'll understand soon." Henry frowned. Vanessa had always been unpredictable, but he brushed it off as teenage-like whimsy. She had always been sharp, ambitious, and sometimes frustrating, but family came first. Or so he thought. Later, while setting the table, Henry's lawyer, Sophie, called him urgently. Her voice, usually calm, was tense. "Sophie, Henry, you need to sit down. This concerns your inheritance, your estate. There's been a serious issue." "Henry, what issue?" "Speak clearly, Sophie." "Sophie, it's Vanessa. She's hidden your inheritance. Not just hidden, it's manipulated, diverted. She has control over parts of your assets you thought were secure. I'm afraid this has been going on for months." The room seemed to tilt. Henry gripped the edge of the table, staring at the polished silverware, as if it were a lifeline. "Henry, my daughter? Vanessa? Why would she?" "Sophie, she's trying to control the estate, Henry. I'm so sorry. You weren't aware because she made it look legitimate. But the truth is shocking." Henry sank into the chair. Betrayal is a blade sharper than any knife. It cuts not the flesh, but the heart. The thought that his own daughter, someone he had loved unconditionally, could manipulate him so completely was unbearable. He remembered all the times he had trusted her, teaching her the family legacy, showing her the inner workings of the estate, giving her small investments to manage. Each act of trust now felt like a step into a trap. How could she do this? "I gave her everything. I nurtured her, protected her. And this is how she repays me? She thought she could outsmart me? I'll show her. She's about to learn what betrayal costs." The air in the room felt heavier, oppressive. Henry's fingers brushed over the empty chair at the head of the table. Vanessa's absence felt like a silent accusation. The festive preparations now seemed absurd. The candles, the carefully arranged silverware, the laughter waiting to happen, all drowned by the crushing weight of deception. He picked up his phone, staring at Vanessa's last message with cold fury. That smug tone, the casual dismissal, it all ignited something deep inside him. A mix of pain, shock, and a simmering desire for justice. Henry, whispering, teeth clenched. "You think you can hide from me? You think I won't see through your lies? You'll regret this, Vanessa. I promise you'll regret this." The wound had been inflicted, but the battle was only beginning. Henry knew one thing with absolute certainty. Betrayal would not go unpunished, and the price of greed was about to be revealed. If someone you trusted with everything betrayed you, would you confront them immediately or plan your revenge carefully? Comment below, what would you do in Henry's place? Henry MacAllister couldn't shake the image of Vanessa's smug text from his mind. "You'll understand soon." That casual, almost mocking tone played like a recording in his head over and over. It wasn't just betrayal, it was arrogance. She believed she had outsmarted him, and the thought ignited a fury that burned hotter than anything he had ever felt. He tried to focus on the dinner preparations, arranging plates and polishing glasses, but every detail blurred under the weight of betrayal. The estate, which had once felt like a safe sanctuary, now seemed like a stage for deception. Each step echoed with the memory of Vanessa's manipulation. "Henry, all these years, I taught her trust, responsibility, and she repays me like this?" She thinks she can take my life, my legacy, my fortune, and get away with it. He picked up his phone and called Sophie, his lawyer, again, needing guidance, needing clarity, and needing confirmation that the betrayal was real. Sophie, urgent, controlled. Henry, it's worse than we initially thought. Vanessa has been diverting funds, controlling investments, and she even falsified documents to make it look legitimate. She planned this carefully. Henry, planned carefully. So it's deliberate. It's personal. She's not just greedy. She's calculating. And she thinks I won't notice. Sophie continued, we need to act strategically. If you confront her now, she may destroy or hide evidence. But I know you. I know you won't just sit quietly. Your instinct is justice, not patience. Henry ran a hand through his hair, pacing. He could feel his chest tighten, his heartbeat pounding like a drum of war. Rage and hurt collided, creating a potent storm of emotion. For the first time in his life, he realized that parental love could coexist with merciless retribution. When Vanessa finally arrived at the estate that evening, she carried herself with that usual confidence. She smiled, unaware that Henry had already discovered everything. Happy New Year, Dad. I hope the dinner's perfect. You seemed a bit tense earlier. Henry's eyes bore into her, a quiet fury simmering beneath a controlled surface. Perfect? I'd call it shocking. Tell me, Vanessa, do you really believe hiding my inheritance is acceptable? That you could manipulate me and the family without consequences? Vanessa's smile faltered, but she quickly masked it with arrogance. Oh, Dad, you're being dramatic. I'm just securing my future. You should be grateful I'm thinking ahead. Henry's jaw tightened. Every word she spoke fanned the flames inside him. Her selfishness, her audacity, the sheer confidence in her deception. It was intolerable. Grateful? You stole from me, lied to me, and gambled with my family's trust. And you expect gratitude? Vanessa's mask cracked, and for a brief moment, her fear was visible. But her ego wouldn't allow her to surrender. You're overreacting. You'll get over it. No, Vanessa, this isn't about overreacting. This is about justice. And mark my words, the consequences are coming. Everything you've done is going to be exposed. As Vanessa stormed off to her room, Henry felt a mix of exhaustion and determination. The confrontation hadn't calmed him. It had intensified his resolve. Betrayal had cut deep, but now it fueled clarity. Every move, every lie she had told, would be accounted for. She thinks she's untouchable. But arrogance is a dangerous shield. I will be patient, precise, and she will see that trust betrayed has a cost far greater than she imagines. The night stretched long and restless. Henry sat in the study, reviewing evidence, organizing plans, and preparing for the battle that would define his family's future. The breaking point had arrived. There was no turning back. If someone you trusted with everything betrayed you, would you confront them directly or plan your move carefully? Comment below, what would you do in Henry's place? Henry MacAllister sat alone in his study, the dim glow of the desk lamp illuminating stacks of documents, contracts, and financial statements. Outside, the night was still, but inside, his mind raged with a storm of betrayal and calculation. Vanessa's arrogance had shattered not only his trust, but also the sense of safety he had carefully built around his family and legacy. She thinks she's clever, that she can hide, manipulate, and steal. But cleverness without discipline is a weakness. And I am about to exploit it. Henry poured himself a glass of whiskey, but didn't drink. The liquid sat untouched, reflecting the scattered papers around him. Every investment Vanessa had tampered with, every document she had falsified, every lie she had told, it all became ammunition for his plan. The descent had begun, but not into despair. It was a descent into strategy, patience, and calculated revenge. Henry withdrew from casual family interactions, feigning fatigue and concern over the New Year festivities. His children noticed his quiet demeanor but attributed it to stress. He welcomed the isolation. It gave him focus. Late nights were spent reviewing financial records, cross-checking transactions, and confirming the legal avenues he could pursue. I trusted her completely, and she betrayed me completely. Every detail matters now. Every slip she makes will be noticed. Every lie will be exposed. He began drafting a private ledger of her misdeeds, noting who had seen what, who could testify, and how he could stage the ultimate exposure. It was meticulous work, surgical in precision. The thrill of planning was mixed with a simmering pain. This was personal, and every choice carried moral weight. Henry's gaze fell upon a photo on the desk, Vanessa as a child, laughing with innocent joy. A pang of sorrow cut through his rage. He remembered tucking her in at night, celebrating her successes, and teaching her lessons about integrity and honor. That memory was both knife and shield, a reminder of what he loved and what she had betrayed. I didn't raise a monster, but perhaps I underestimated what she was capable of. This isn't just about money. It's about restoring the balance she disrupted. The memory hardened into resolve. His descent wasn't into darkness. It was into control. Revenge needed precision, timing, and patience. He refused to act rashly. One misstep, and he would lose not only the inheritance, but also his moral high ground. Henry contacted Sophie, his trusted lawyer, and Marcus, a longtime family friend with sharp judgment. Together, they reviewed Vanessa's transactions, verified inconsistencies, and brainstormed a plan that would protect the estate while strategically exposing her deceit. Sophie, you need to stay patient. If you act now, she'll cover her tracks. Wait, prepare, and let her arrogance undo her. Henry, patience is a weapon, Sophie. She thinks she's untouchable. That's her mistake. Marcus nodded, adding, every slip she makes will be a victory for you, but don't lose yourself in anger. Precision beats fury. Henry nodded, absorbing every word. The descent was not a spiral into hate. It was a disciplined, calculated march toward justice. Every moment spent in planning reinforced his resolve. The hours turned into days. Henry monitored Vanessa's actions carefully, noting patterns of greed, overconfidence, and carelessness. He was not merely plotting revenge. He was learning the limits of her arrogance. The emotional intensity was suffocating but necessary. If someone you trusted with your life betrayed you, would you plan a careful strategy or confront them immediately? Comment below, what would you do in Henry's place? Henry MacAllister moved like a shadow through his own estate. Every glance, every observation, every phone call was calculated. Vanessa, unaware that her father had discovered her deceit, continued her daily routines, checking accounts, boasting to friends, and flaunting control over parts of the inheritance she thought were untouchable. She believes she's untouchable. Every lie, every greedy move, every careless display of arrogance is now my advantage. The hunt has begun. Henry began subtly exposing inconsistencies in Vanessa's actions to family and close staff. He left small clues, misdirected emails, corrected financial statements, and carefully timed questions that made others notice the cracks in her story. The goal was simple: make her believe she was secure, while quietly eroding her credibility. Henry whispering to Sophie, she needs to feel safe, confident. Her arrogance will make her slip, and when she does, we'll be ready. Sophie nodded, reviewing the documents. Every move is strategic. Don't act too soon, or she'll cover her tracks. Let her greed lead her to mistakes. The first small victory came when Vanessa tried to finalize a large transfer of funds to a personal account overseas. Henry had anticipated it and flagged the transaction with the bank, temporarily freezing it. Vanessa panicked, but thought it was a technical error. Why won't this go through? The bank is incompetent. Dad must have done something, but he wouldn't notice yet, would he? Henry watched silently from the study balcony, a faint smile on his face. Each slip, each hesitation from Vanessa, strengthened his confidence. Every mistake she makes, every hint of greed and overconfidence, is a step closer to justice. The hunt isn't about rage, it's about precision. Henry escalated the hunt with subtle psychological pressure. He arranged casual, coincidental meetings where Vanessa overheard fragments of conversations about the estate and its management. Trusted staff asked questions that planted doubt, and occasional legal notices were left in visible places, hinting at the consequences of mismanagement. She thrives on confidence. Let her confidence unravel herself. Fear and doubt are more powerful than confrontation alone. Vanessa's demeanor began to shift. The once smug, untouchable daughter started to show cracks, hesitations, whispered consultations, and moments of visible panic. Her arrogance had become her weakness. Henry's actions were careful, controlled, and deliberate. He didn't act out of vengeance for immediate satisfaction. He was playing the long game. Every misstep by Vanessa was a signal, every flaw an opportunity. If you discovered a loved one betraying you, would you confront them immediately or orchestrate a careful plan to expose them? Comment below, what's your strategy for revenge? Henry MacAllister sat in his private study, a storm of thoughts racing through his mind. The hunt had begun, but there was a nagging feeling that Vanessa's betrayal was deeper than even he had anticipated. Something didn't add up. Every time he thought he had accounted for her moves, a new discrepancy appeared. She's hiding something, more than just the inheritance. Greed explains a lot, but not everything. There's a pattern I haven't seen yet. Henry decided to go through all Vanessa's recent communications, emails, texts, and financial logs. With Sophie and Marcus assisting, he traced several offshore accounts and suspicious transactions. His heart sank as the full picture emerged. Vanessa had been colluding with a business associate, someone outside the family, to siphon off funds under the guise of investments. This was no longer just greed. It was calculated deception, a betrayal that endangered the entire MacAllister estate. Henry's voice trembling with controlled rage. She's not just reckless, she's dangerous. She thought she could manipulate the entire system, and she almost did. Sophie looked over the documents, her expression grim. Henry, this isn't just inheritance manipulation anymore. She's planning long-term. If we don't act carefully, it could ruin the family completely. Henry's mind sharpened. Every piece of evidence now had a purpose. This revelation wasn't just confirmation. It was the key to ultimate exposure. Henry paused, looking at the family portrait on his desk. Vanessa's smiling face, frozen in time, seemed almost mocking now. Pain, betrayal, and anger collided inside him. I raised her, loved her, protected her, and she repays me like this? But if I act recklessly, I could destroy the rest of the family. I need precision. I need control. He realized that this revelation changed everything. The hunt was no longer just about subtle exposure. It required meticulous planning to ensure justice was served without collateral damage. Henry called Sophie and Marcus to discuss the strategy. Henry, we need to move fast, but carefully. This isn't just greed. It's manipulation, collusion. We can't let her spin the story. The family must see the full picture. Marcus, we can gather witnesses, document every transfer, and confront her at the perfect moment. Timing is critical. Sophie, exactly. The evidence has to speak louder than words. She's dangerous, but her arrogance will be her downfall. Henry nodded. The revelation had shifted his approach from subtle undermining to full exposure, but only when the time was right. Every step would be calculated, every move deliberate. As night fell over the MacAllister estate, Henry stared out the window at the city lights, the weight of the revelation heavy on his shoulders. He was no longer just dealing with greed. He was dealing with betrayal on a scale he had never imagined. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted was hiding something far worse than you imagined? Would you confront them immediately or plan carefully to reveal the truth? Comment below, what would you do in Henry's place? Henry MacAllister knew he couldn't take on Vanessa's web of betrayal alone. Her arrogance had led her to believe she was untouchable, but Henry understood that even the cleverest manipulator could be undone with the right allies. That's why he reached out to Marcus, the family friend whose loyalty and insight had been unwavering, and Sophie, his sharp and trusted lawyer. We need a plan that exposes her completely, without destroying what's left of the family. I can't afford mistakes now. Marcus nodded. She underestimates you. That's her weakness. If we coordinate carefully, we can make her arrogance unravel publicly. Sophie spread out the files on the study desk, highlighting Vanessa's misdeeds, falsified documents, hidden accounts, collusion with external business partners, and attempts to manipulate staff. Henry, she said, the evidence is enough to confront her. But timing is critical. She must be caught off guard, or she'll find a way to spin the story. This isn't just revenge anymore. It's about protecting the estate, the family, and teaching her the consequences of betrayal. Allies are essential, but I must lead the charge. Marcus suggested involving a few key family members who were loyal and unaware of Vanessa's schemes. Their presence would not only add credibility, but also ensure Vanessa's attempts to manipulate others would fail. Henry agreed, carefully selecting who to include. Together, they rehearsed the exposure, ensuring that every piece of evidence was presented logically, leaving no room for Vanessa to deflect or manipulate. The alliance strengthened Henry's confidence. He now felt supported, not just by law and strategy, but by people he trusted implicitly. This alliance is fragile but powerful. We have to act as one. Any misstep, and she could regain control, but if we're precise, she won't know what hit her. As the alliance formed, Henry allowed himself a moment of vulnerability. Sitting in his study, he recalled moments from Vanessa's childhood, laughing together in the garden, late-night conversations, and milestones they celebrated. Pain cut through him again, but he channeled it into focus rather than despair. I loved her once. I still do, in a way, but love doesn't mean ignoring betrayal. This is the only way to protect the family and restore justice. Marcus noticed the shift. Henry, it's okay to feel the hurt. Just don't let it cloud the plan. You've got the evidence, the allies, and the strategy. That's enough. Henry nodded. He realized that even the strongest desire for revenge had to coexist with moral control. The alliance wasn't just strategic. It was his moral compass, ensuring that in exposing Vanessa, he wouldn't lose himself to fury. Henry spent the night finalizing the plan with Marcus and Sophie, detailing the timing, witnesses, and method of confrontation. The stakes were higher than ever. One misstep, and Vanessa could manipulate the narrative, but if executed properly, the betrayal would be laid bare and justice restored. If you discovered a loved one's betrayal, would you seek allies or go it alone? Comment below. Who would you trust, and how would you plan your revenge? Henry MacAllister felt the first tremors of doubt. Even the most carefully laid plans could falter, and in the world of betrayal, trust was fragile. He had built an alliance with Sophie, Marcus, and a few loyal family members, but now, cracks began to show. It started subtly. Marcus, normally steady, seemed distracted, double-checking documents and whispering on the phone. Sophie noticed discrepancies in Vanessa's recent transactions she hadn't accounted for. Henry's instinct screamed. Someone within his circle had been compromised. No, not now. Not when we're so close. Betrayal from outside I can handle, but from within, that's a knife to the heart. Henry discovered a pattern. Certain messages and emails had been intercepted. Some funds Vanessa had supposedly attempted to move were mysteriously approved, even after his careful precautions. His heart sank as he realized that someone in his inner circle had leaked information. Someone I trusted has betrayed me. I cannot fail now, not after coming this far. Every move must be reconsidered. He confronted Marcus privately. Henry, have you noticed anything unusual in our communications? Marcus hesitated, then shook his head. Henry, I don't know. Everything seems fine. But, his voice faltered, eyes darting. I'll double-check. I promise. Henry felt a flicker of doubt, but he couldn't let it paralyze him. He had to adapt quickly. The betrayal forced Henry into a moral dilemma. He realized that to counteract the hidden interference, he would need to bend the very rules he had promised himself he wouldn't break. He considered manipulating Vanessa's confidant, creating false trails, and even putting someone close to her in danger of exposure to ensure the plan stayed intact. I wanted justice, not cruelty. But betrayal from within, it forces me to step into darkness I swore I wouldn't touch. Is the price of revenge the loss of my own morality? Henry spent the night recalculating every step, preparing contingencies. Trust had been shattered, and now he had to navigate the plan with a mix of caution, cunning, and cold precision. Vanessa remained oblivious to the inner turmoil on Henry's side. Her arrogance had grown unchecked, believing she had outmaneuvered her father and any potential obstacles. She continued flaunting her control, arranging meetings, and planning more diversions. Henry watched every move from a distance, realizing the betrayal within his circle had actually strengthened his resolve. His mind was sharper, his focus absolute. The danger wasn't just Vanessa anymore. It was the unpredictable nature of human weakness and deception, and he had to anticipate it. Every betrayal, even from those I trust, teaches me more. I will adapt. I will survive. And when the time comes, she will face the full weight of her actions. The act ends on Henry meticulously plotting his next steps, knowing he is close to exposing Vanessa, but also aware that any miscalculation could compromise everything. His inner circle is fractured, yet the hunt must continue. Have you ever faced betrayal from someone you trusted most? Would it make you stronger or break you? Comment below. How far would you go to protect what's yours? The grand hall of the MacAllister estate was filled with tension. Candles flickered against the walls, casting elongated shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. Vanessa had been summoned under the pretense of a family meeting, but Henry knew this was the moment everything would come to light. The culmination of months of planning, patience, and strategy was about to unfold. This is it. Every move, every slip, every lie she ever told, all will be revealed. Justice will finally have its voice, and she will understand the cost of betrayal. Vanessa arrived, exuding her usual confidence. But as she stepped into the room, her eyes flickered with uncertainty. She sensed something was off, though she couldn't yet grasp the gravity of what awaited her. Henry said calmly, "Vanessa, take a seat. Tonight, we settle the truth." Vanessa smirked, attempting to maintain control. "Dad, what is this about? Another lecture?" Henry gestured towards Sophie, Marcus, and a few family witnesses, who now held evidence of Vanessa's misdeeds. He opened a folder containing detailed financial records, emails, and falsified documents. "Do you recognize these, Vanessa? Every account you siphoned, every document you falsified, every lie you told to manipulate this family. You did all of it, thinking no one would see. But we saw. We've documented everything. You cannot deny it." Vanessa's smirk faltered. She tried to recover, but the weight of the evidence pressed against her. You can't prove anything. This is absurd," Henry said. "You underestimated the loyalty, the intelligence, and the patience of those you betrayed. You thought you could hide your greed behind arrogance. But greed leaves traces, and traces become proof." The room crackled with energy as Vanessa's composure shattered. Witnesses recounted instances of her deception, each revelation cutting deeper than the last. Marcus and Sophie presented intercepted communications and evidence of collusion with outside partners. Henry watched her carefully, noting every twitch, every stammer, every sign of fear. This is justice. This is the reckoning. Not anger, not revenge for its own sake, but balance restored. The betrayal ends here. Vanessa finally collapsed into a chair, the facade of arrogance gone, replaced by panic and remorse, or perhaps just fear. "Dad, I didn't think it would go this far." "You didn't think, Vanessa. That's where you went wrong. Actions have consequences. Trust is earned, and you squandered it." Even as Vanessa faced exposure and consequences, Henry felt a moment of introspection. He realized that while revenge had been his fuel, justice had been his goal. He had to choose how far to push, not for satisfaction, but to restore balance without destroying what was left of family ties. "I could destroy her completely, but that wouldn't heal the wound. Justice, not vengeance, is the lesson she must learn." Henry decided to allow Vanessa to retain a portion of her inheritance, enough to learn responsibility, but not enough to repeat her betrayal. It was a measured, deliberate act of power balanced with mercy. The room fell silent. Vanessa's face was pale, the truth heavy upon her. Henry closed the folder, feeling a mixture of relief, exhaustion, and moral triumph. The reckoning was complete, not with rage, but with clarity and justice. If you had the chance to confront a betrayer, would you seek revenge or justice? Comment below. How far would you go to restore balance? The MacAllister estate was quiet for the first time in months. The storm of betrayal, plotting, and confrontation had passed, leaving a fragile calm in its wake. Henry MacAllister stood on the veranda, watching the city lights shimmer in the distance. The night air carried a sense of finality, and for the first time, he allowed himself to breathe. It's over, and yet, nothing feels the same. Betrayal leaves marks that even justice cannot erase, but at least the balance is restored. Vanessa had retreated to her room, subdued and contemplative. The confrontation had stripped away her arrogance, leaving only the raw truth of her actions. She understood, at last, the consequences of her greed and deceit. The family, once tense and fragmented, now cautiously began to reconnect under the new boundaries set by Henry's measured judgment. Sophie and Marcus approached Henry, their expressions a mixture of relief and pride. Sophie said, "You handled it with precision, Henry. You didn't just expose her, you protected the family. And you didn't lose yourself in the process. That's the hardest part." Henry nodded, the weight of months of planning finally lifting. Justice is more than punishment. It's balance. It's ensuring that what was broken can at least begin to heal. Henry reflected on how the ordeal had changed him. He had been forced to navigate anger, betrayal, and moral compromise, learning patience, restraint, and strategic thinking. The experience had left scars, yes, but it had also strengthened his resolve and clarified his understanding of trust, family, and integrity. I could have destroyed everything in blind rage. Instead, I restored what mattered most. Revenge is tempting, but justice, true justice, requires wisdom. He allowed himself a rare smile, acknowledging that while Vanessa had learned her lesson, he too had grown stronger, sharper, and more aware of the fragile nature of trust. Henry walked through the estate, touching the familiar objects and spaces that had once symbolized safety and family unity. He paused at a framed photo of the MacAllister family, noting Vanessa's face, no longer mocking, but thoughtful, perhaps even regretful. We may never be the same as before, but some lessons must be learned the hard way. The hatreds, lies, and betrayals cannot vanish, but the way forward is clearer now. Outside, the night sky stretched infinitely, and Henry felt a sense of circular closure. The echoes of the betrayal that had begun months ago were now balanced by justice, reflection, and careful redemption. Henry's story ends not in anger, but in reflection. The family may never fully forget, but the wounds have been managed, the wrongs addressed, and the future cautiously secured. The lesson of betrayal, patience, and justice resonates far beyond the walls of the estate. Was revenge worth it, or did justice heal more than anger could? Comment below, how would you handle betrayal within your own family? Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.